are you? Okay? So to help me out, I need Landon, Keegan, Nick, and Cole to pass these out. So 2 of you on this side and 2 of you on this side. Just go through the aisles. It's really easy. Split those with Keegan, I guess. Everybody needs one of these little stickers, and you guys take this side over here. Just make sure everybody gets one. Several of you noticed the sticker that I was wearing this morning. It's not exactly who are you, but think about times where you have had to meet someone that you've never seen before, maybe at a business meeting, maybe just in public somewhere. You're with someone and it's kind of unfamiliar territory and your friend introduced you. This question, who are you, many times is posed a little bit differently, and maybe you at this business meeting, you might wear a name tag. Who are you? We normally first think about that with our name. That's what we start with. And that's why I have the sticker. And I want you to hang on to these. We're going to get to those, kind of make an application in our message, and even maybe take this home with you and kind of be a prompt, kind of where we're headed. The first way we normally answer that question is with your name. Who are you? Well, we're going to respond with our name that way. A lot of our educators, our teachers are getting their rooms ready. School's going to be starting soon, and you have a list of students that are going to be in your class. You may know a few of them, but some of them you have no idea who they are. Others are somewhere in between. But that list is made up of names. That's the first identity that we have when we're born. Okay? One of the first jobs of a parent at the birth of their child is the name. Let's embarrass some parents here. Are there any parents in the room that when your daughter or son was born, you did not have a name picked out yet? It happens. Pastor Mark, which one? Macy. Are there anybody, Daryl, you didn't bring a kid home, Mark, you didn't bring her home without having a name, did you? That is our first identity. And we don't choose it. It's chosen for us. It's our name. Who are you? The first thing you're going to say is your name. But who we are, and really with the sticker, I had to look online quite a bit to find one that just says, hello, I'm. Most of them say, my name is. And I wanted it a little more personal than this, because I want to take another step with this. Our first identity is our name, but our identity really is more than our name. It becomes our experiences in life. What we do, what we like. A lot of that, our parents bring us along in a family unit. You may have grown up in a family that likes to hunt and fish, let's say. The odds of you then, that being a part of your adult identity, that you hunt and fish, are increased if your parents do, okay? My mom or dad, back up. My mom fished. She fished all the time. I can remember up until the last few years of her life, she'd go fishing in her lake that was there behind the house. In fact, that's a funny story. She had always wanted a fishing pond. My dad was always too busy. Yeah, we'll do that. I think we could put it out here. They talked about it for years out by their house by the golf course. She got fed up with it, and on a Wednesday, my dad was always at the sale barn in Columbia Livestock Auction for all of his career. She called Gary Stowers. Bring that bulldozer. And when my dad got home that night, she had a fishing pond. She got tired of waiting on him. She would fish. Your grandmother, one of her best friends, Miss Lois, they fished together. She still fishes. But one of the things that was my mom's identity was what she did. She did fish. My dad didn't. So I really didn't grow up like a guy hunting and fishing with his dad. My dad worked. He didn't fish. He didn't have any hobbies. But my mom would fish. And she'd catch a catfish like this, and she'd skin it. Now, I've never skinned a fish. I don't touch fish. They're ugly. I'll eat a fish. I'll eat a fish. They're slimy. But a catfish is not scaly. It's skin. It's got skin, right? Grafton's back there thinking, where's he going with this? You fish? What would you do if you caught a catfish this big and you're going to eat it? How would you skin it? My mom don't cut the head off. She gets a big spiked nail and she drives a nail through that fish's head on a piece of wood, and then she's got pliers and she pull that skin off. Give me a hamburger. Our name and our experiences build our identity. Who are you? First, it's your name. Then it's your experiences, you know? I want us to think about that in where we've been and where we're going, and specifically take one more step. A guy, when they get past the who are you, hi, my name is Tom Reichert. And the guy that you just met, what's the next question he's going to ask you? What do you do? Where do you work? It's our name and our experience, especially for men. It becomes a job. It's what we do. But I want us to take one more step. And it's not who are you or hello, I'm what are you? What are you? Couldn't find any stickers that say, what are you? Okay? We are starting next week a 15-week series called Life Words. Okay? Now I'm making the nexus between words and who are you and what are you. And we're going to build from this series, Life Words, based on a book by a guy by the name of N.J. Gupta. Okay? And we have several of these books in back. If not, we're going to go through how you can get a book. And I want to challenge you, many of you, maybe all of you, even those of you who don't read, there are 15 words we're going to go through in the next 15 weeks. And words have power. The first words we have are our name. That's building our identity. But we're going to go through life words. At least in Mr. Gupta's opinion, these 15 words are necessary to grasp Christianity, to grasp our faith. We have to understand these 15 words. So we're going to take them a little bit at a time for 15 weeks. That gets us to Thanksgiving, okay? So we want to do that, but today by building a nexus, a bridge from where we've been to where we're going, and we're going to use a word, disciple. What does that word mean? Disciple. Okay? Now, disciple is not one of N.J. Gupta's life words, but it fits really with all 15 of them. So let's think about disciple. We use that word sometimes. We think of it primarily as a religious word. It probably is most of the time. But what's the definition? It's a noun. It can also be a verb. But in this case, Merriam-Webster says the noun form is one who accepts and assists in spreading the doctrines of another. So it's a person who accepts certain beliefs and also assists in spreading those beliefs. For example, primarily Christianity, one of the 12 in the inner circle of Christ's followers according to the gospel accounts. If you were one of the 12, you were considered a disciple. Okay? There were 11. Jesus got 11 out of 12. That'll get you into the Hall of Fame in disciple picking. Okay? You did pretty good. They were all disciples. It can be more generic, not necessarily Christianity. It can be a promoter, a learner and a promoter of anything. B, a convinced adherent of a school or individual. a school of thought or an individual like a disciple of Sigmund Freud. Okay? So that's what the word means, the noun form of the word means. So I want to challenge you. Who are you? You might give me your name. You might give me some things, experiences in your life that have kind of made you who you are. If you're a runner, there's one person in the room that loves to run. I think Wesley loves to run. Would you say that, Wes, that you love to run? Yeah. Most of us don't. Mark got most of that right. But that's almost an identity for Wesley. But we don't want to confuse what we do with who we are. Because some of us, in our past, our life was filled with lots of things we did that were sinful, that were painful, that hurt other people. And many times we spend a lot of energy, a lot of spiritual and mental energy, physical energy, trying to get past those things that we chose, that the world has pushed on us as our identity. If you're a recovering alcoholic, you know exactly what I mean. It sometimes becomes who you are, or you think. Sometimes it's not even the painful, sinful choices we make. It is the painful, sinful choices others make that are then forced on us. In a room this size, some of you in the room had an adult when you were a child do inappropriate things. But that is something that happened to you that is not your identity. It is not who you are. Who are you? They affect us. We have to process it. We have to deal with it. But they are not us. Your past identity is not who you are. It's maybe what you did or what was done to you. But we connect this with this idea of a disciple because a real simple definition really comes from the Bible. The Greek word mathetes, Strong says, is a learner that's a pupil. Thayer says just 3 words. Disciple is a learner or a pupil, and that's how I'm going to define it, a learner. A disciple is a learner. Nicole was discipled in a lot of different ways, from little kids VBS Sunday School when she was 1 year old, through her college experience with Crew at University of Arkansas, and churches and Crew. She was discipled. She was a learner in. Even Friendship Church. I hope you're a learner every time you walk in here. This is the beginning of learning every week. So I want that learning, I want us to be as a disciple as we look at these 15 words. Because I don't want our identity to be our experiences that the world and sin has pushed on us. I want our identity to come from God, who He says you are. And N.J. Gupta will say, if you want to understand that, let's start with these 15 words. Okay? So that's where we're headed in an overview. Okay? The 15 words that we'll be taking beginning next week with righteousness. Here's the list. If you were called to define the word righteousness, how would you define it? Are you righteous? That's an adjective. It is a religious word, but it may not mean exactly what you think it means, especially in the New Testament Greek context, and even go back to the Old Testament Hebrew. It might mean a little different, and that's what we're going to learn about. We're students, we're pupils, we're disciples, we're learning, and we're going to learn it with a head knowledge, this theology, but then we're going to apply it to our life with another word. Discipleship. Discipleship. Okay? We're also going to add the gospel. What is the gospel? Forgiveness, life, the cross, faith, grace. If you're a follower of Christ, I'm challenging, I'm pushing a little bit. You must be able to define what grace is. Understand that concept. Unique to all world religions, Christianity has a concept of grace that Islam does not have. Buddhism does not have. Judaism, kind of. Okay? Fellowship. Through the years, my leadership that I'm accountable to, the elders, have several times have said, church lasts too long. We got to start on time. Because sometimes, used to be a lot more than in now, 10 o'clock church started at 10:15 or 10:20. You know? And I understand there's logistics, I got that. But people would say to me, we didn't start church till 10:20 last week. I'm like, no, we didn't. Did you see all those people talking? Little groups here, there, people going over here, visiting, laughing, telling stories? That's church. That's fellowship. Gupta says we've got to understand this concept. And one of the ways we apply it is when we see each other each week. That's why we do the silly birthdays and anniversaries. So we begin to know each other. It's a simple way to learn something about our identity of who we are. You know, and there's still lots of us. Friendship Church in the last few years has grown. There are new faces here. People just like, wow, I missed a couple, 3 weeks, and there's 10 new people. It's a constant process, and fellowship is a part of that. Hope, salvation, peace. Peace doesn't mean the absence of conflict. Something bigger than that. Because you can have a peace in this world in the midst of conflict. Because it's from God. My peace I give you. My peace I leave with you, Jesus said. The world can't comprehend it. Religion. It's free to get in, but there's a test you've got to pass to get out. Okay? So if I handed out the test today, and the one question, compare and contrast the differences between religion and Christianity. Who'd be the first one out the door? Have you thought about that? Who would be stuck here? Okay, turn your papers over, begin. We have to understand the difference between religion and Christianity. Holiness. Are you holy? God is holy, right? Holiness is the noun. Holy is the adjective. Are you holy? Can things be holy? Relics. A crucifix, a shroud of Turin, is that holy? Can places be holy? Is this a holy place? Or is it just a building? Can ground or land be holy? Now some of you are thinking of your Old Testament stories. Love. Paul wrote, you can do all these things. You can give your body to be burned as a martyr. You can have all knowledge. And if you don't have love, you've missed it all. So what is love? We'll learn about that from a biblical point of view, and finally, witness. Okay? Now, the book that we're going to go through, I originally ordered 25 copies because as I prayed about this, I thought, Lord, I'm asking you for 25 people that will read this book. And then when I had my elders meeting, we had our elders meeting last week. There's 7 of us. I'm included. The way Friendship is set up, the senior pastor is an elder. There's 6 other guys. A couple of them don't read books. So I was hoping 4 or 5 out of 7. But all your elders took a book. So I'm thinking, maybe I didn't order enough books. We have, looks like, about 6 books left. They cost about $14. If it's easier for you to get one of those and take one of those today, maybe you're not as familiar with the internet as other people. Maybe you don't have access, maybe whatever. They cost the church $15. If you'll commit to read it, take the book. If you got $15, put it in the plate. If you don't, take the book. Doesn't matter. We're not going to let money stop us, okay? I want to challenge you to go along a little bit each week, read about these concepts. They don't define us, but they do build our identity, understanding who we are in Christ, and that whole process is discipleship. Now, I want to give you an example. We understand about disciple. We understand what discipleship is. It is learning. That's the process of learning, okay? It happens 2 ways. Number 1, vertically, okay? Jesus taught 12 disciples, okay? In our life, we have a vertical relationship where we are taught and led and encouraged and convicted directly with God as disciples. He's teaching us. But then there's a horizontal part of that. Okay, and I want to give you 2 pictures of that. The last words that Jesus told his disciples, 11 of them, Matthew 28, it's the basis of why Nicole is going to a Middle East country for maybe 10 years. Jesus said to do this. Go. Okay, now literally, she's going. Okay? Go. Now it might mean for you to the classroom next door. One of your teachers on your team, her father died. And she's grieving. Jesus says, go and make disciples of all nations. That's Nicole, all nations. Baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's what we did last week. That's the process of discipleship. Someone coming to Christ for the very first time and beginning this process of being a learner. The vertical part, God's doing his part, we're doing our part. Okay? We are made a disciple to disciple others. That's the principle. That's what we should all be about. Friendship Church should be about that. I'm a learner. I put myself in places where I can learn. Sunday morning, Sunday night study, small group studies, service projects. I'm going to learn. God teach me. But I'm learning, and even the 15 words, we can learn these 15 theological concepts, but if we don't do anything with them, we're being selfish and not completing what God's called us to do. Go and then make disciples. Okay? That's Matthew 28. The other passage is in Acts chapter 14. This is one of the stories that we went through, I believe. Paul has just left Derbe, I believe, where he got beat up. He got left for dead. I think they stoned him. So he left that town and he went on to Lystra. Acts 14, beginning at verse 21. Listen as we go through this. They, and I'm assuming that's Paul, maybe Timothy, maybe Titus, maybe Barnabas, maybe Luke. I'd have to look it back up to try to figure it out who was with him. But it's few of them. They preached the gospel in that city, and the NIV says, won a large number of disciples. Or the ESV says, made many disciples. Okay? Well, what does that look like? Then they returned to Lystra, Iconium, Antioch, strengthening the disciples and encouraging them to remain true in the faith. So there were disciples in these other towns. So they go back and they follow up. They check up on them. If we're in a relationship of discipleship within our family and someone over here their life is falling apart, we check up on them. We follow up. Okay? And it's not just the pastor's job. I try to do it. I try to remember. August 26th is going to be a hard day for many of us. I try to remember, how's your mom? How's your sister? And that's fine when you have a church of 50 people or 100 people. So our elders are more engaged than they ever have been. But it's not just the leadership, it's all of us. They followed up. They returned, strengthening the disciples, encouraging them to remain true in the faith. We must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of God, they encouraged each other with. Paul and Barnabas appointed elders for them in each church. With prayer and fasting, committed them to the Lord in whom they had put their trust. So God is using all these events of the New Testament that we've just been through with eyewitness. Okay? And he's building his church through the process of discipleship. Taking the gospel to people who have never heard it in their life. We had 10 weeks of that with eyewitness. Wednesday, Nicole is leaving to a country that's 99% Muslim and taking the gospel. That's the first step of discipleship. Building relationships. Knowing something about them. This is my mom. This is my sister. This is where we live. She's building relationships with people. This is my birthday. This is my anniversary. It starts with our name, but it goes farther than that. Tell me a story about your story. That's part of it, getting to know each other. That's discipleship. So we want to do this because, number one, Jesus said to do it. Go and make disciples of all nations. But number two, he gives us a picture of how to do it. You follow up with people. You encourage people. Discipleship vertically from the Holy Spirit and the God who created us, and the command then to go and make disciples. We do it all kinds of ways. That's what NYR is about. That's what Passion Camp is about. Making disciples. That's what having a nursery for our littles. They get care, they have fun, they might even talk about something. Kids Zone, we want them to get one concept, one thing. With that many kids, you're not going to get a whole lesson plan done. One thing, one idea. But it also gives parents a few minutes with their littles somewhere else that they can think and not have to worry about Cheerios and your brother's kicking you and who's screaming and that diaper's dirty and whatever, you know? That's discipleship. All of that is discipleship. My last thought in this, as we nexus to life words next week, is the promise that we closed with our last series out of 2 Peter 1. 2 Peter 1, verse 3. He has given us everything we need. If you're struggling with pain and grief and loss, he has given us everything we need. If you're struggling with an addiction and you had so many days clean and sober and then it all fell apart and you're now back at zero, step up, because he has given us everything we need. If your children are at the season of your life where every day you're completely exhausted, you have nothing left, he has given us everything we need. Okay? Let me finish the verse. He has given us everything we need through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. So the way we get everything we need to live a godly life is knowing Jesus. It's all about Jesus. Okay? So we're gonna start this next week. You can go out on Amazon and christianbook.com, and if you got it, some of you in the room have your one-click set up. It'll be here on Tuesday if you go there. All right. How many of you have your Amazon one-click all set up? Yeah, lots of you. Yeah, Jill curses that since I set that up on my account. Or if it's not easy for you to get it, order it and have it this week. We have a few that are left back there. Would love to have you. He has given us everything we need. He calls us to be a disciple and make disciples. Okay? And so for the next journey in this Life Words series, I want us to understand the theology. That's what N.J. Gupta wants us to understand from the book. But I want us to apply it to our life. And the word for that, who are you? The word for that is, I am a disciple. That's my identity. I'm not a runner. I'm not a businessman. I'm not a poppy. I am all those things. Well, I'm not a runner. I'm a disciple. I'm a disciple.